What if the most important thing you ever do is let go of who you think you are? In a world of unprecedented crisis and AI taking over all of our creative fun, or Trump's tariffs crashing the market, I think it's more essential than ever for our creativity to be free, to be part of solving the problem, creating beauty, connecting to communities, figuring things out. But first, you've got to let go of that identity that you're holding on that says you can't be creative because you're too busy, work's too important, family life is overwhelming, you're too old, it's too late. All of that, that's just excuses. It's BS. It's not true. Because fundamentally, deep down inside you, you've got something really important to share. And at some point, either somebody loved or trusted, someone in your family, a teacher, or maybe just society told you that your creativity wasn't valuable enough for you to pursue in any significant way. And you let go of that dream. And you got a job and you've gone down this route and you're good at what you do, I'm sure. And you add value where you are and you work with people who are great and it's fulfilling and it pays the bills and you've got a mortgage and like it keeps your family afloat and all of those things they're good. They're really good. But inside you, there's something yearning to get out, something calling you, something deep, something resonant. All I can think of right now is whales communicating from miles and miles and miles apart with their deep resonant whale song. There's something calling you on a cosmic and elemental level to create, and you're missing that opportunity. And you've created this whole persona around why you can't do it and why you can't create. And you've made excuses. Hands up in the air, I have too. But I think now, more than ever, it's so important for us to get connected to our creativity, to our community, to people around us who can inspire us and push us to another level, to get beyond the infinite scroll from the excuses and start to make something unique, inspiring, beautiful, even terrifying. Because I think we're surrounded by these voices that will tell us about science, and science tells us why it's important. It tells us how we can get to a place. But art informs us who we are in the process, how the human being thrives or grows or responds in these scenarios. Whether that's a film like The Matrix that shows this completely alternative reality, or a TV show like Severance of how a corporation wanting to solve all of the human struggles and release everybody from pain, but ultimately is manipulative and controlling, and that art that shows us those two perspectives is amazing because it makes us feel something. It makes us feel something new, something revelatory. And as a creative, as an artist, whatever your practice, whatever your medium, there's an opportunity for you to create a world for people to step into and experience something and feel something new and enlightening, maybe challenging, maybe dystopian, maybe different. But it's really important that in April of 2025 that you get over your shit and you get on with it. We need it. The world needs it. There's 8 billion people with a story to tell and an energy to express. And there's something just challenging and fabulous about this moment. Now, if you've watched all my videos, you know that I don't spend a lot of time on my phone or reading newspapers, watching the news, because I know that I need to insulate myself from those things because they're not helping me. They're not helping my head. But it's not that I haven't seen what's going on. I absolutely see what's going on. And I don't mean in some sort of other level. I mean, I see the news. But I see enough of it to know I don't need to know any more of this, because on any given Tuesday, it's not going to make my life any better. It's not going to help me move forward and push forward. And it's not going to help me show up and fulfill my desire to inspire thousands, if not millions, of people to create. Because I think we're holding ourselves back. We're our own biggest limitation. The limitation in our minds, the limitations that we put on ourselves. We've believed those things that people have told us about how unimportant our art is, our practice is. And I'm here to remind you that it's so fundamental to who you are. I can't get past this idea of it's like breathing. When you're not creating, when you are a creative person and you have a desire to do that and you can't get to it, something gets in the way, or the time's ripped away from you, or it's pulled somewhere else, the rug's pulled out from under you. It's a little death. It feels like you're being suffocated. And it's just so unhelpful. But we have this burden of our identity, and if we've built up this idea that because of this story, whether it was a teacher or a family member or that told us that our art wasn't valuable, that we'd never make a living from it, that's not even important anymore. What's important is that it's deeply connected to who you are, because you've realized there's a sense of purpose, there's a sense of meaning, there's a sense of beauty, there's a sense of creativity, and I really believe it's a fundamental human experience to be creative. Whether it's how we wear our hair. Now, I've made a very specific style choice about my hair based on my genetics, but that's me. But I get to choose how I wear my beard or what color hoodie I wear. But I'm expressive in how I cook and what ingredients I buy and who I choose to draw references from in how I adapt my recipes, or what TV shows I watch, what books I read, what newspapers I open or don't open. And you do too. You have that opportunity to express yourself. And at multiple moments daily. There's so many things that are completely unnecessary. We could all be wearing exactly the same clothes. And there's a reason why we rebel and get out of our uniforms, even if we have to have one. When we've built up this identity, and to break that down and to pull it apart and pull it asunder to a place where we can rebuild and do something else is so stressful on our system. The reason that people don't change is because it's hard. Like our brains are wired to keep doing the same things again and again and again, to continue to do the thing and not to change. It's so hard, and particularly as you get more established in that, it becomes your story, your reality. But our minds are plastic, and they are fluid, and we can move them and we can change them if we want to. But you've got to connect to a deep enough reason to want to move that. And honestly, that's why I'm here. That's why I'm showing up, because I want to say there's a way forward. There's a way to change. And that doesn't have to mean that you go to my website and you book time and work with me. It's not about that. I want everybody to have an opportunity to grow and get back to their creativity. This is not about me. This is about you taking responsibility for your situation and going after it. And I think that there's a paradox, because the further we go and even the more successful we become, particularly in an area or another area, the harder it is to dismantle that framework of who we are, that framework of how we've been put together. And I think it's just, but I do know from talking to people that I coach and guide is that there's a deep, important piece inside them, deeply connected and resonant to who they are on an atomic level, who they are needing to express that creativity, whether it's writing, music, movement, whether it's visual or it's a feeling. Like, there's such a deep connection to something really, really important. And I think the most important thing is to get back and get connected to a process. I think one of the things we've been sold a lie about is this idea that we create something and it becomes a product that we can sell, a product we can put on our website, a product we can put on a wall in a gallery, a product that we can then make copies of and transport around the world and share with people. And I think it's really important to dismantle that. In the Brian Eno book that I've been sharing, What Art Does, and I've been talking about, he talks about the idea that starting is much more important than finishing. And I'm sure you've seen the video titles, just start. And that's great. But as artists, and even as humans, we have this unfinishable product. I am unfinishable. You are unfinishable. You will never be finished with your growth, your development, your journey. And it's almost the difference between an architect and a gardener. The gardener starts the garden and there's no end to the work. There's no end to the growth. There's no end to the beauty. But there's a start and an end point for an architect. And I think that's the difference. Is I think a lot of creatives and a lot of artists have been sold on this idea, and maybe it's a factor of the commercial worlds that we live in, that there has to be a product, there has to be something at the end. But more importantly, it's about creating a feeling and a message and a challenge to the viewer or the participant of the art. But a lot of great art is alive, and it's transcendent of meaning. Even artwork that's hundreds or even thousands of years old, because humans and society has moved on, it holds new meaning that the artist may never have intended, that they never envisioned it having this life. And even if you do create something that's a finished product, maybe it's a piece of vinyl, or maybe it's a print you put up on the wall, but what will that mean what will this picture of these flowers mean in 500 years? Like, will people still be printing photographs and putting them up on the wall, and will that still be here? Or will a piece of music that's created and put on a 12-inch of vinyl, like, will that just be an antiquity? Will it have any relevance? Will there be any way to play it? I think we'll still have walls to hang up artwork. I don't think that's going to change. But, hang on a sec. Yeah?
Can I have my screen time?
If you come and say hi to my YouTube video, which you've just interrupted. We live in this world of unprecedented change, and if you watch the narrative around AI, it's changing at an accelerated rate, and the creative sphere is being upended in a way that we've never seen before, and our access to knowledge and understanding, and even having an AI think for us, process for us, is like, it's a real conceptual challenge. I get that. But we also have climate change and social division and the crazy political situations and I'm not talking about any one specific one, but that seem insurmountable in different geographies all around the world. And I'm not getting into them. I'm not getting drawn into that. That's not what this is about. But I do think it's really interesting. I was on a coaching call this morning and we were talking about the difference between physics and psychology, and which also can be kind of explained as the fact that, like, science discovers these ideas, discovers these concepts, discovers how we can do something, but then art digests them. It interprets them on a human level. And like I was sharing, like, that idea that art helps us feel our way through these complexities. Whether it was interesting that before the COVID pandemic, there was many movies about pandemics, about global, things that would spread, and they got us thinking and processing about what that would look and feel like. So, I mean, there's theories out there that would suggest that we're being pre-programmed on it, or it's art that's exploring things that may happen, because there are so many of us living on the planet at the moment, and there's so many different variants of that, whether it's science fiction books, movies, TV shows. Like, there's an unending array of ways in which to explore those. But I think that with art we have new means of exploring these things. And whatever your practice is, I think it's so important for you to dive into it and to fully explore it. And if you can create something of beauty or something that's challenging or something that's relevant, to do it and also to share it. Find a way to share it. And that doesn't have to be that you've got to have the most likes on Instagram or TikTok, but find a way to put it out there into the world. Because I really think that our world needs a new level of imagination and understanding, and this comes from a belief that, like, I believe in the unlimited potential of human imagination and humanity in general. Like, I'm an eternal optimist. While I can see stories and they might get me down, I can also go, there's got to be a way for us to move forward. We didn't come this far just to come this far. And I also saw Dr. Brian Cox talking about this idea that what if we're the only sentient beings in our entire galaxy of hundreds of billions of stars, and we're the ones that bring a sense of meaning and purpose and relationship to it? How sad would it be that we would get to the point where our choices, humanity's existence, would mean that we blink out of existence and remove all meaning from our galaxy? I think that's such a consequential challenge for us. And I think particularly for us as creatives and as artists to get to work and to show up and put something amazing and beautiful out into the world. But I think we need to address, like, what's limiting us as creatives? What's limiting our vision of ourselves? What's limiting, what identity are you clinging to that's limiting your creative potential? And how can you overcome that? And some of the ways that I share regularly is this idea about creating space for your creativity. And there's a link in the description for a starter kit, which is a PDF about rest, and it's also a video on digital distractions and some worksheets to get on with that to help you get away from your phone. But the bigger piece is that it's just a foundation to create space for you to unpack this idea of what is that identity that you're holding on to? What's the story that you've been told about your creativity, that it's not valuable or important, but there's in this dichotomy where there's this resonance inside you that goes, it's so important to me. And maybe it can never make money, maybe it can never be valuable in that realm, but it might have value of consequences that you could never see or understand or project because it connects to somebody else. You know, in the same way that I'm making this video and all my videos just so it might help one person. And if that person's you and it challenges you and pushes you in a new direction, amazing. And anyone who can come back and make a comment and say, hey, on the back of your videos, I've started carrying my camera and going out on walks without my phone, and it's a beautiful experience. That's one overwhelmingly positive response to my videos, but two, I think it's just what humanity needs. We need more of that. We need more people to go after that. So creating some space for yourself to be able to process, to be able to connect back to that deep, resonant place of who you are and why creativity is important to you is fundamental to this journey. But I think it's really important to remember that first and foremost, you are a human being, and that is 100% beautiful and amazing, and however you're showing up for your family, your friends, yourself, your partner, your work, your creativity is just a beautiful starting point. And all of those things that's enough. Don't watch all the hustle culture videos, and you need to it's not even about me saying it. You've got to give yourself permission to say, that's enough. I am enough as a human being. And that's just beautiful. And whatever you bring with that, whatever fruit comes along with that, is also beautiful. And be okay with that. And from there you connect to like a place of freedom, a place of surrender, of letting go. And that's where you can really start to connect with your purpose, with who you are and what's important to you. And that's the deep work that we get to go on. And that's why I'm going to keep showing up here on YouTube to offer ways to connect to that. And I'm here as a guide, as a coach. But it's not about whether or not we'd ever work together. It's about you finding a way to connect to that important piece and moving forward. And I'll still be cheering you on from the sidelines, whatever that looks like. Okay. YouTube will recommend a video for you to watch here of mine. Please take a look at that. Hopefully the algorithm's doing its job and this is totally on point for you. And thank you so much for watching the video, taking the time to hear out why you're important, why you're valuable, and why you're amazing. Thank you, and see you again soon.